maybe. I said, well, what do you mean maybe? I said, well, he said, well, I'd like you to speak tomorrow. I said, well, I can't do that. I said, you know, let's just keep it about 150. He said, oh, we'll see. I said, oh, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I show up at the school, and we're walking down the hallway, and he says, I said, well, where's the auditorium? He says, well, we're not going to the auditorium. I said, well, why are we going to the auditorium? He said, well, because we have to go over here. I said, well, that sign says gymnasium. I said, well, why are we going to the auditorium? Why are we going to the gymnasium? He said, well, because the entire student body's there. I said, how many kids is that? He said, 3,000. I said, 3,000 kids, really? I said, you really expect me to hold the attention of 3,000 kids, and I'm not going to have to police them and be like, okay, that conversation over here has to stop, you know, what's going on? He said, no, I think you can do it. So basically what happened that particular day was actually an anointed day. It allowed me to speak in a way, the situation or whatever happened in the capsule, or whatever was going on with the students that day, they needed to hear a specific message. And what I talked about has to do with the first letter of my book, which is it's a letter that's all about self-worth and self-esteem. It's called You, the Newest Perfect Model. And in that letter, I argue and talk about the fact that our youngest generation is brilliant and perfect, the perfect product of 15 billion years of God-created evolution. And therefore, how can they look at themselves and feel like they need Rolexes or Bentleys or what have you to feel like they have some measure of worth? And mind you, when I talk about things that creating value outside of yourself, I don't mind nice things. I like to have nice things. I have nice things in my life. However, the idea of attaching some measure of self-worth to those things is where we run into problems. And I think that many of us, whether we be 8 or 80, have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves the questions, are we living someone else's life? And I would say that most of us are. Most of us are not necessarily living our own life. We're living the life that either a parent, husband, wife, son, daughter has told us or brought us in to live, or an advertiser, better yet, has told us to live. And rather than really looking and taking ourselves in and saying, who am I, what am I about, and how could I manifest my truth into this world? My journey is very specific, and I want to realize all that my journey has to offer. And